Which, before we do, I just wanted to say that Joe Biden is now going to be the oldest president. It was Trump, then before Trump, Ronald Reagan. Just kind of weird that we elected younger presidents in the 90s and 2000s. Like, those presidents are younger than the presidents we elect now. I think that's kind of weird. But that was the same case for the presidents in the 70s and 60s. You know, it was weird. You went from Ronald Reagan to JFK, so I guess it's just a matter of change. But some of the 2020 candidates, like Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, are said to be in Joe Biden's cabinet, like Kamala Harris, which will be the first female vice president, first African-American vice president. And I think she said she was South Asian. I don't know, I might have to research on that, but I'm pretty sure she's also South Asian. Like, half black, half South Asian. Not positive, but I'm pretty sure she said that. So yeah, I think Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, obviously. So yeah, some of the 2020 presidential candidates for the Democrat Party will be joining Biden's cabinet, which typically happens. For example, Trump did that to Ben Carson, who was a candidate in the 2016 Republican race and is now part of Trump's administration. And the same thing goes for Ted Cruz, although he may not be in Trump's administration, is a crucial ally in Congress. And same goes for like Marco Rubio. And yeah, that's also Trump did have opponents. Former Massachusetts governor Bill Weld went against Trump, but obviously didn't do great. Mostly because, you know, when you run in the primary against, you know, the incumbent, it's really difficult not only to, you know, win against the current guy when you're in the same party, but also to just get recognition in general, you know what I mean? Like, people just forget, oh yeah, he has to do that still. You know, they just vote him off the bat. Typically, your party supports you, although we have seen presidents lose their party ticket, especially in the early 1800s, mostly because those guys sucked at laws, you know, trying to stop slavery, which eventually led to the Civil War. So yeah, let's get on to some smaller races now that we got the presidency out of the way. So for the presidency, a couple more things. This by Reuters, which is unbiased news media, says ex-Obama officials likely candidates for Biden's spy jobs, which, if you don't know what that is like Secret Service and FBI, CIA, you know, those guys. So, which makes sense because Biden was vice president for Obama, so it makes sense he would hire, you know, people who worked for Obama, considering Biden worked with them. Also, Biden says he will reverse some of Trump's policies, which is good for Democrats but not great for Republicans. And I'm really curious how that will work, because Trump's accomplished achievements have been built the wall. He is currently building the wall. I don't know where the progress is going to go once Biden is president. Trump is suing the results and not conceding the election, although his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and Ivanka and Melania both said he should concede. He has not conceded yet, so that'll be interesting. Also, a fun fact about that the Constitution does not say a president has to concede the election as long as they have a strong enough support, they legally don't have to concede. So, which is a constitutional loophole, which is, kind of dangerous. Granted, you didn't have to worry about it, but with like Trump and, you might have to worry about that. And as a Trump supporter, I personally feel like Trump should just concede, But, it's Trump. Yeah, we're gonna get some interesting stuff. Also, Trump has a record economy. The only reason why it failed is because of the COVID. Trump says there's a vaccine, but Biden said he'll find another vaccine, so that could be delayed. Trump said he will leave the quarantine up to the state governments, and Biden said mandatory statewide. So definitely two different types of leaders. Okay, now that I think that's all I have to say about that. Moving on to other elections. All right, second election we're going to is the House election for New Jersey's 2nd District. The House of Representatives seats are all up for election every 2 years, but this one's important because incumbent new Republican Van Drew of New Jersey's 2nd District, which if you don't know is between, it's like southern Jersey, it's like right between Philadelphia and Delaware, like the tip of New Jersey, who was a former Democrat who was elected in 2018, but in 2019 he switched to Republican and endorsed Trump, which was a heavy Democrat area, so the Democrats went go big or go home, right? So they selected Amy Kennedy, who is married to Patrick Kennedy, who I believe is the son of Ted Kennedy, so it's the Kennedy dynasty. And Kennedy was pulling ahead because she was a Kennedy, but with heavy campaigning and with the help of Donald Trump, he has beat Amy Kennedy in a close landslide, which means it was a landslide, but not really. It depends who you ask. But yeah, he did really good, especially since, it was a Kennedy. And this is not the first Kennedy loss. Earlier, Joe Kennedy III was running for Senate in Massachusetts, and he lost that seat. So the Kennedys aren't looking too great. They just keep losing election after election, which proves that the Kennedys aren't that strong anymore. Kind of sad, but, some things lead to an end, right? All right, big news out of Minnesota Congress District 7. Michelle Fischbach, the lieutenant governor and president of the Minnesota House, has beat Congressman Coleman Peterson, who's been congressman since 1991. Alright, so here's some sad news. Not as sad as Trump losing, but sad. TikTok star Matt Little, who is a state senator from Minnesota, my home state, has lost re-election, which is sad. And he lost by like 11 points. That's not good. You'd think being a TikTok celebrity would help, but no, it did not help with this election. But it was like in Farmington and Lakeville, which are strongly Republican areas. So, to admit, surprising a Democrat won there. You know what I mean? But it sucks. Moving on. Other news. As long as with state senate, you might know this, but North Dakota has elected a dead state senator. I mean, he died before the election, but he's gonna be, so I don't know how that's gonna work. Typically, they hire the wife to fill in until they can find a replacement. But I don't know if they still do that. But yeah, that's just interesting. Probably told all of his dead buddies to vote for Biden. The president wasn't the only thing people voted on. For example, Mississippi voted for a new state flag. I'll show it to you here so you can see what I'm talking about. You see, their flag used to be this with a Confederate battle flag until June 30th, 2020, and before the election, they didn't use a flag at all. They just used the seal of Mississippi, which, if you didn't know, is this. So this is what they used for the past couple months. And then they changed it to this on Election Day. Mississippi voted, actually, 28% of Mississippi voted against it. So it was, in fact, a popular flag. And honestly, I kind of dig it. It's a nice state flag. So yeah, that's the video, guys. If you want more videos like this, just let me know. Comment down below, like it, subscribe, and yeah, have a good rest of your day, night, whatever you're doing. Just remember, drive safe.